For more analysis on this, we're now joined by Wayne Duvenage, the CEO of Organising Undoing Tax Abuse, and he joins us via our video link. Wayne, thank you so much for joining us this evening here in SABC News. I mean, e-toll debt, we're talking about this again, and one would say that asking motorists in Gauteng to actually pay for their debt, is this a realistic demand?
No, not realistic at all. They'll never be able to collect that money, and much of it is prescribed, by the way. They cannot suck the billions that they believe they are owed out of the economy right now. The motorists can't afford it. And, you know, they really need to give clarity as to how they're going to go forward. This is another deadline that they've put. They've missed many deadlines in the past. And I think the public are now fed up, and they're not even listening to what the various levels of authority are saying on this matter.
How important is this clarity? I mean, just not so long ago, we heard from the Gauteng Premier saying that e-tolls will definitely now be a thing of the past. I mean, nobody really expected to be hearing, well, you still need to pay for your e-tolls regardless of them being scrapped.
Yeah. You know, in 2022, in October, they made the announcement that tolling will not be used as a funding mechanism for the Gauteng freeway upgrade. The minute they made that call, you know, people did stop paying. In fact, Panyaza Lesufi went as far as to say that those who had paid up to about 7 billion rands worth would be refunded. So now, you know, what do you expect the motorists to do? To say, well, you're going to refund me, so why should I pay? And then come now, and this is Treasury saying, no, but you've still got to pay your outstanding debt. It's just not going to happen. I think government needs a reality check. There's 4 different levels of authority here. There's the Department of Transport, there's SANRAL, there's the Premier's office, and then there's the National Finance Minister. And nobody is giving us clarity as to exactly what is happening here. So really, you know, I think it's time to move on and for government to make a decision on pulling the plug finally, because they've missed so many deadlines, as I said.
I mean, e-tolls came into, of course, our lives more than 10 years ago. How do you force so many South Africans and Gauteng residents to actually pay for these tolls?
Well, they can't. You know, there was one enforcement mechanism left for them. Remember, they threatened us with criminal records. They threatened us with not being able to renew our driver's licenses and so forth. This was all propaganda. We had to fight back and correct them on that. Their last resort was to start summonsing the public. They started an onslaught of that between 2016 and 2019. We, as OUTA, started defending those who gave us the mandate to do so. We had almost 3,000 cases lined up in court, and then they stopped that process as well, realizing that, you know, we were going into election year in 2019, and it wasn't good for government to have a litigious warfare with their citizens. So they've stopped that avenue. That's the last avenue of collection. So once you can't enforce your own laws, then these schemes collapse. And this one has collapsed. But, you know, for some reason, they've allowed it to drag on year after year, deadline after deadline. And I don't think anybody's taking government seriously on this matter anymore.
And you have reached out to the public, Wayne, and you're speaking to those who are being forced to pay these debts or their e-toll debts. How exactly will you be assisting Gauteng motorists, especially those who get summons?
So, yeah, anybody who gets a bill, ignore it. If you get a summons, and it has to come from SANRAL, and it is a formal summons to pay, then you let us know at OUTA, or you contact us at outa.co.za. We have a whole process that we follow. You give us the mandate, we will defend you. We've always said this, and we've been doing so since 2015, 2016, when we said if you do get a summons, if we have the funds in our bank account and your mandate to do so, we'll defend every single citizen that is summoned. So, you know, don't worry. I don't think they will go down that road. If they do, it would be very, very unusual, and it's very, very late. And I think that they will be found wanting if it gets to court. So, yeah, just please, the last few 10% of people that are still paying, I think if they stopped paying, the car rental companies, the fleet companies, it would force government to implement this decision a lot quicker.
What avenues does the Gauteng government have in terms of trying to ensure that this bill is paid and ultimately scrapped, and so we can never have this conversation again?
Well, you see, the Gauteng government, by the way, has been roped into something that they should never have allowed themselves to be roped into. These are national roads run by the South African National Roads Agency. The bills and the amendments to the laws were passed by National Department of Transport, backed by National Treasury. It had nothing to do with the province. And now suddenly they find themselves being asked to pay 30% of SANRAL's debt. These are assets that aren't even on Gauteng's books, and they're being told to maintain them. Well, if I was the Premier of Gauteng, I would have told SANRAL and the national government. It was very difficult to do so because, the province is funded 80, 90% by National Treasury. But I would have told them this is not our problem. You created this mess. You created the debt. You need to resolve it. But they've allowed themselves to be sucked into it. They don't know how they're going to fund it because they are broke. The 12 or so billion rand that they're expected to fund, I don't know where they're going to get it, and they know that, which is why the Minister of Finance has said, this 31st of March deadline may not be met because they still haven't finalized how they're going to settle the debt and who's responsible for what.
All right, Wayne, thank you so much for your time this evening. That is Wayne Duvenage. He is the CEO of Organization Undoing Tax Abuse, just giving us his insights there when it comes to those e-tolls. And of course, we saw that announcement being done by Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi just last week, the State of the Province address, saying that by the end of March, e-tolls will be a thing of the past.